man, I went to the gym and I ran, and you know what happens when you run and your lungs just can't function? Yeah. So if I'm coughing, it's because I can't breathe. Anyway, this week I wanted to talk about critique groups and how useful they can be and why you should have one. I know it's hard to put your work out there and, actually let people tell you what needs improved on. But it's so important, and it's so influential in helping you grow as a writer, and even just developing the skill set of knowing, hey, this isn't working, and this is why, and helping other people understand with their own writing how that works. It's so helpful. And so yeah, I wanted to talk about critique groups today, which is kind of a can of worms, but here we go anyway. First things first, I want to give my own views, and then I'm actually going to have a few of my friends and members of my own critique group. They're texting me throughout this video, and I'll be reading what they have to say on the matter, because I think it's important to have multiple perspectives, and that's the case with writing in general, is you need to have multiple perspectives. So, first things first, why do you even need a critique group? Why can't you just write your own thing and post it and publish it and call it good? Why do you need others' input? That's a great question, and I'm really glad that none of you asked it, but I'm going to answer it anyway. You need a critique group and you need feedback because we're all blind to certain things. We have blind spots, and that's the case everywhere in life, but it's especially true when it comes to our own art. And I say this as art because it is. Writing is art. It's like putting your baby out into the world, and then the risk of having somebody take an axe to it is there. It's true. It would hurt a heck of a lot if somebody took an axe to a baby, so please don't do that. And a good critique group won't do that, or at least it won't feel so much like they're taking an axe to your baby. So we have blind spots. Also, you're going to read things from one perspective, and somebody else is going to read it and be like, that made no sense. While somebody else might read it and be like, that made perfect sense. As you go through that process, you can have those readers kind of talk to each other and be like, okay, what did you get? What did you not get? Where did I lose you? And did I actually convey what I was trying to say? I did this with my own critique group. I had them specifically read one of my books to make sure that the technology made sense, and that the technology wasn't just like, hi, yes, telepathy, understand my brain. What do you mean you can't do telepathy, right? It's so important to have other people who have no understanding of the world whatsoever pick it up, read it, and give you their honest understanding of what they think is going on, so that you don't lose your readers, because that is the worst possible scenario. You don't want people to, pick up your book and then be like, wow, I don't know what's going on, and put it down and never read it, never review it, never tell anybody about it. In fact, if they tell somebody about it, they might say then, wow, that was a bad book. I was so confused the whole time. And that is not at all what you want, right? So having feedback readers and critique readers and better readers, per se, having them give you that feedback is invaluable, because it'll help you reach a lot wider audience and make sure that you're actually accomplishing your goals. Granted, if you just want to write for art and you don't really want to think about publishing, then yeah, you don't have to share it. You don't have to have people read it. But there's also something incredibly community building about having somebody have read your baby, essentially, read your book baby, and then come talk to you about your original characters. If you have ever been in a fandom, as clearly I am, we all are with Harry Potter, you know what it's like to be able to walk up to somebody and be like, oh, what house are you in? Yeah, I'm Slytherin. What did you think about that last book, man? Wow, that was a ride, right? It's so cool to be able to do that with people. And then to have people that you know that read your book come up and be like, I love your characters, and I want to marry this one, and my poor baby, don't hurt her. And I'm like, sorry, I'm gonna hurt her more. You know, like, having those conversations is just so cool, and it kind of gives you a glimpse of the future, which can be super, super encouraging. Because the longer that you have to wait for publication because you're waiting for a traditional publisher, or you're waiting for an agent, or you're going through edits, the longer it takes, the easier it is to lose faith and lose confidence, and that's like the worst possible scenario. So, why do you need readers before you like are ready to publish it? For all of those reasons. They can help you in so many ways that you never even saw coming. 2. What makes up a good group for critique groups? First, you need to have people that you trust their experience and their knowledge. I have created a critique group with some of the people that studied in my same major at school, because I know what they know, and I know that they are very good at what they do. I would gladly vouch for any of them for editing or writing or publishing. Like, I totally would vouch for any of them, even without necessarily having read what they've written, because I know that they've had the same training as me, and I know that they are very good at what they do. So you have to find people whose feedback you would actually trust. Like, I can't take my books to my family because they're going to tell me, oh, it's good, and I'm going to be like, did you even actually read the whole thing? And they're going to be like, no, it's too violent, or no, I just don't read fiction, which, like, isn't helpful when I'm trying to write a fiction book. So first you have to find people whose knowledge you trust, whose skill set you trust, and who are actually, like, part of your target audience. Second, you all have to, like, be getting something out of it at the same time. So if I continually bring more and more drafts to this critique group, eventually it's going to be very one-sided. So we've been doing a rotation. So we started with my book, and then we moved to another member's book, and then we moved to another member's short stories because she doesn't have any books yet, and then we moved to the last member's book, and then after their book, we're moving back to my book, and we'll continue the rotation for as many people as have novels, or we'll readjust as needed. And that's a super good way to do it because you're all helping each other grow, and it's not just like a, hey, tell me what I need to do better, and then never hear anything again, which is the worst. It's the worst to be on both sides of that, because on the one hand, when you are sending it off to people, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you, and then you, like, don't hear anything ever from them, it's super obnoxious and super annoying, and you're like, wow, that was a waste of time, and also now you have a draft of my book, and what if you do something crazy with it, right? On the other side of that, on the flip side, if you're the one giving the critique, and you can't get around to it, it's just, I get super frustrated with myself when I can't get around to something, and I have, like, 5 books right now that I'm supposed to be critiquing, and it is eating me up inside. Yeah. Anyway, so you want it to be mutual. You all have to trust each other and each other's knowledge and each other's skill set. And you all have to come willing to be critiqued, which seems like it should be, obvious. But if you're not willing to be critiqued and you're not willing to hear, this scene was not well written, go fix it, you're not going to have a good time in critique group, because the entire point is to sharpen your book. It's to cut off the excess, to make it stronger. And if that is not the goal of every single person in that group, yeah, none of you are going to have a good time. But if that is the goal of every single person in that group, you're going to have a great time, and it's going to be so impactful, and it's going to help your career so much. Plus, if you're like me, having people that you know will read and comment and give you feedback, even if the feedback is just like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, man. Like, as a suspense writer, that, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, man, is so helpful, because it means that I'm doing my job right. It means that I did something right in the writing to keep them on the edge of their seat, to keep them reading, to have it be a book that they can't put down, and to have them that emotionally invested in my characters. I did something right. even with a comment that's just like, oh my gosh, you know? Whereas like yeah, it's good, that doesn't help anybody. So, that's enough from me. I'm gonna give you a little bit of feedback from my friends, and here we go. Alright, first one. This is from author Allie Mae on Twitter. I think to be successful you have to be honest. You have to not worry about stepping on the author's toes with your edits, and as an author, you need to admit that your work needs help. The more honest and constructive communication you can have, the more successful I think you'll be. So true. So right. It's so important. And like people say to like, there's like the sandwich method and like the Oreo method of like, good critique, something to improve on, something they did well again, you know? Which like, is helpful to a point. I think it's designed to soften the blow of, you need to fix this. But like, the longer you're in this industry, the more you'll be just wanting to hear, okay, I know I'm doing these things well. I know that already. Tell me what I need to fix. And just make it clear. Don't sandwich it. Just give me what I need to fix. Like one of my friends in my critique group, she was like, this is my rough draft. Destroy it. Sort of jokingly, but also like, she handed it off to us as a rough draft, knowing that we were going to help her make it a lot better. Alright. This one, from one of the members of my critique group, and I love her. This is from Ari Lamont. And on the other side of that coin, if you like something in an author's work, you have to tell them. Critique includes both your criticisms and your praise, and if you only criticize, it can lead to the work getting worse instead of better. The author needs to know what to focus on, and what to take focus away from. But above all, you need to be able to be both honest and respectful with your and other people's works. You are not infallible as an author, or as a critic. Preach. The best mindset to have is as a team working together to refine a piece of art into the best form of itself it can be. Me versus you is a surefire road toward burnout, frustration, and arguing. A good critique group, however, can be the most helpful tool in a writer's arsenal. Good critique can and often does elevate a piece greatly. Plus, it's fun to have people to brainstorm with. So accurate. Okay, so there are so many times where you're like, yeah, I know this sucks, but I have no ideas. I can't fix it. I don't know what to do, right? And so then you're like, okay, guys, I know this sucks, and you've pointed out that it sucks, so we're on the same page. What are your ideas to help me fix it? And just having 4 other brains working on the same problem with you, even if you never use any of their ideas, like, I know, I'm this way too. My brain is like, just let me talk to you until I figure out the problem myself, because any of the suggestions you give me are probably not going to make it into the book. But by giving me suggestions, you're making my brain rule out options and therefore provide new ones. You know, so like, no, I can't just shoot this guy, that's too simple, and I can't poison him because it's too sneaky. But maybe I could stab him with a knife, you know, which is... I'm a crime and suspense novelist, and my works have some murder. A little bit of murder. Little bit of murder. Yeah. But, so, yeah, the brainstorming aspect of having a group of people to just bounce ideas off of and like, hey, what does this tell you about the character? Or does this make you like them more? Or what if I do this? Would that even work conceptually? Like, would you agree that that is a good idea? All of those things are super, super, super helpful. And you won't regret having a critique group as long as you find the right kind of people you all have a mutual goal and it's mutually beneficial. And understanding that, like, yeah, you can't read my entire novel in a week because you have life that you have to do. I also have life, so I'm going to give it to you for the month and we can reconvene later, you know? So, like, all of that kind of stuff. It's super, super helpful when it comes to critique groups. One of my other friends, Teresa, said, I think critique groups are also a great way to keep up motivation to write on a more regular basis because you know that there are people waiting to read your work. Preach, girl. So true. Like, even just imagining the comments that my critique partners are going to leave on my document in, like, because we use Google Docs. So even just imagining the comments that they'll leave at certain points makes it so much more fun to write a scene, even if I'm, like, already excited about the scene, and then I, like, write it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna freak Ari out. Or, like, this is gonna make Alyssa go crazy. Or, you know, Alyssa's going to love this scene. Or Chris is gonna be so happy because I actually put fluff in my manuscript. You know, like, things like that. It's so good. It's so helpful. Plus, it's like, yeah, they're not gonna read this particular novel for, like, probably another 4 months, at least. But that's okay. I can still be super excited for their critiques when the time comes. Plus, I have another novel for them to read next, so it's a fun time. I love my critique group. They make me so happy. Plus, we just chat on, like, a daily basis anyway. So, like, we're just good friends. Yeah. Love you all. Okay. Thanks for listening to my rant about critique groups, and I hope this helps as you try to find something. Honestly, I think the best type, like, you can have a critique partner, which is one other person, or you can have a critique group. I find 4 is a good number for the total group size. When you get to 5 or 6, it gets to be so many novels, and it gets super tricky to, like, actually make it mutually beneficial for everyone for the entire time that you're doing it. But yeah, go out there, find people who will critique you and critique you well and help you grow and, like, root for you and help you brainstorm, but also that you can root for and help in return. It's so important to have it be a mutual thing. Okay, that's it for today. I will see you next week. I am so glad that you're here. Until next time, I will see you then. If you like this video and want to see more like this video, go check out these videos right here. And I post once a week, typically on Mondays, sometimes on Tuesdays, depending on the week. Here are my social media handles. They're all the same. I just like how that looks. I will see you next time. Until then, bye.